Hello and welcome to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Rogue Trader. A bit more explanation as to what happened last time. At the end of the episode, I did say that I'd botched that Abelard's family quest thing. I mean, I did reach a conclusion, but it kind of bugged out after the decision I made, and I'm not going to spoil it any more than that, but to say that it kind of... The post-quest text made it out that I'd made a different decision to the one I had. So I went online, Googled it, and while I was trying to find out about that bug, I sort of found a thread on Reddit that kind of made clear that there was a lot more to that quest than I'd done. a lot more steps to follow, to the point where I wanted to replay it. But I thought, if I just cut all that first attempt out, it'll be the second time I've gone through it, a lot of it anyway, but for you guys it would be the first time, and you wouldn't have to sort of watch it twice. Seemed like the best thing to do to me. Do to me? Yeah, it seemed like the best thing to do to me, not do to me. Anywho, we're going back to Dargonus, and we're going to do this quest as if it is the first time. And, yeah. It'll be better. It'll be better. Now, interestingly, it does sound like the party composition is a bit particular here. There were certainly bugs on the thread I was looking at, but that was a couple of months ago, and it's possibly got fixed with the patch. But anyway, there's no combat as far as I'm aware of. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take Pascal and Ulfa out, and I'm going to add Urliet and Heinrichs in, and I think they could help us with some of the checks that we need to do to find out what's really going on here without spoiling anything more. That's the party I'm going to go with. Means I have to do all the voice acting again, but never mind. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand aside. No need to crowd around. Governor Drivestem will take care of everything. This is ridiculous. Such a thing is happening right in the Rogue Trader's palace. Here we come. You're confronted by the sight of dead bodies at the entrance to the palace. The corpses have been hauled into a pile. Some are dressed in the uniforms of palace wardens, while others are arrayed in the clothing typical of the Dargonus nobility. Upon seeing you, the young enforcer stands at attention and swallows noisily. His voice trembles as he says, "Your ladyship, we're honoured by your presence." So we've got a medica check. I did pass this before, so let's examine them. Succeeded. The bodies of the assailants are studded with many augmetics, but upon closer inspection you realise that they are not merely implants. Their construction makes it clear that the deceased were not human, but in fact rare, high-functioning servitors. Abelard frowns. As far as I know, House Gaprak has received such servitors from the Crimson Priesthood as gifts in the past, although this is my first time seeing one myself. Point at the bodies. What is this mess? Well, you see, your ladyship, those people wanted to attack. Second Lieutenant of the Palace Guard, L.M. Waite, reporting. Shortly before you arrived, we averted an assassination attempt on the Rogue Trader. The palace soldiers detected intruders and engaged them in combat. Where is the Court Chancellor, Clementia Wassarian? Oh, I think she's with the rest of House Wassarian. Detained in the throne room, that is. Governor Drivestem's gathered all of Dargonus nobility there to pronounce a guilty verdict against House Wassarian. Why is the governor not here to meet the Rogue Trader? I don't know, your ladyship. Perhaps he's, The guard throws a fearful gaze at Abelard. Well, you can probably find him in the throne room where the governor intends to put House Wassarian on trial. I'm going to take my leave. Right. Let's have a look at these things. The bodies bear multiple wounds. It is evident that they died recently. An awareness check, 100%.
A trivial task.
There was a crumpled up letter in the inside pocket of an assailant's blood-soaked jacket, which we'll read now. Airful and discreet. Keep away from the lords and ladies. You must look like a noble to the servants and wardens. Do not engage in conversation with anyone. Your task is to avoid exposing yourself ahead of time, and let the Wassarians get away with the wardens, who are busy guarding the Rogue Trader. On the surface of it, pretty incriminating to the Wassarians. We'll see what happens with that, though. Okay. So there's going to be more to do here, but... to get things kicked off initially, I think we should just go on with the main path.
The darkness of the expanse. All that
Let me through. I have an appointment with Chancellor Clementia Wassarian. Oh, my apologies, sir, but you can't come in right now, I think was the gist of that. This is ridiculous. I shall complain. Oh, move over. Ladyship, the rogue trader through. Oh, I humbly beg pardon, your ladyship. Your ladyship, please, this way. Governor Urbend Drivestem. Oh, your ladyship, 'tis an honour. The Governor Urbend Drivestem seems to materialise out of thin air, so suddenly does he emerge from the crowd. I regret that such unfortunate circumstances have occasioned the rogue trader's visit to the capital. Clementia tries to take a step towards you, but the warden nearby stops her. Her face is veiled with fear and weariness. Your ladyship, you're here. Please, you must hear us out. The rogue trader is undoubtedly here to listen to the testimony of each and every one of us, and to punish the traitors. The governor's words directed at Clementia are harsh. They are echoed by the scornful sneers and whispers of the assembled nobles. We've known each other for many decades now, and we've had our fair share of disagreements. But you really think my flesh and blood would trample upon the very definition of honour and loyalty? Abelard's voice is quivering with rage. The governor sweeps his gaze over Abelard and then replies, a faint shadow of a doubt in his voice. Oh, well, we have evidence implicating them, Abelard. I am sure that her ladyship will arrive at a fair ruling. What are the charges against House Wassarian? Disruption of logistical lines, bribery of Adeptus Administratum officials, document forgery, and organisation of heretical insurrections. On top of the evidently devastating economic impact this has had on your protectorate, these criminal acts have impeded the delivery of the imperial tithe, which has, in turn, drawn the Administratum's attention. An esteemed member of the Adeptus Arbites is expected to arrive on Dargonus shortly, and before they do, we are obligated to identify and punish those responsible. Clementia, I wish to hear your account. Your ladyship, House Wassarian denies all charges laid against it. She glances at the governor with defiance. These last few months have indeed been trying for Dargonus, but we have done our best to try to remedy the situation. My family's every effort was focused on stabilising the capital's logistics and economy, so much so that we failed to notice the web of intrigue unfolding behind our backs. So what's happened in my absence? Oh, when we caught wind of the rumours of your disappearance, we patiently awaited news of your return. But then Dargonus was struck by a series of terrible events. The first was the sabotage of logistics that hampered shipments. Then mass unrest spread across the entire planet, and the minor noble houses began squabbling among themselves, trying to pin the blame on their rivals. Oh, we took great pains to calm them down and managed to quash the revolt, though not without some outside help, unfortunately. These events have also been overshadowed by the... I'm ashamed to even say it aloud in front of you, your ladyship. The rumours circulating among the higher houses. The governor stammers and then takes a deep breath. Some were calling for Theodora's true heir to be installed as the head of your house, Conrad Voigtveer. Not all of your subjects have forgotten his past efforts for the benefit of the Trade Protectorate. Drivestem stops talking, watching you with a tense expression. When the investigation was launched, the evidence led us to the Wassarians. Why are there dead bodies in front of my palace? Oh, ladyship, I humbly beg your pardon. Drivestem bows once again, trying to placate you. You see, right before your arrival, the palace guard discovered a plot to assassinate you. Unfortunately, the malefactors were disposed of before they could cause you any harm. Drivestem, you aren't accusing one of the Dargonus leading noble houses of treason without airtight evidence, are you? Of course I have evidence, your ladyship. The investigation has established that members of the Wassarian family, which is responsible for both Dargonus' fleet and its logistics, used their contacts and influence to forge a host of documents in order to undermine the planet's supply routes and economy, thus fomenting unrest among the inhabitants. Allow me to introduce my son, Cornelius. The governor points to the lanky young man standing beside him. He bows curtly, but avoids meeting your gaze. Cornelius holds a prestigious position at the Administratum Palace, and it is thanks to him that we managed to identify and trace the entire chain of forged documents. The investigation led us to the perpetrators, who admitted to acting on the orders of members of House Wassarian. It was they who were intent on spreading the idea of restoring the title of Rogue Trader to the true heir. This young man is shrouded in a mist of grey and blue. Sickly shadows of fear are fluttering around him. Well, you're sabotaging logistics, riots, conspiracy. The case appears to be flimsy. I wish to learn more before I make my final decision.
As you wish, your ladyship.
The governor inclines his head in a stiff bow.
Speak to me when you're ready to announce your verdict.
Thank you for your willingness to help, Lord Captain. I am certain that all the charges are false, and would be grateful for your help in exposing them as such. I think you should speak to everyone present, the noble lords and ladies. Okay. So we're going to work round in a loop to begin with. Let's start with the Gapraks over here. The lords and ladies sumptuously dressed in the colours of House Gaprak. Now remember, these are the ones who the servitors outside seemingly belong to. They're standing in a half circle around Toriana and her son Vicente. The bodies and faces of almost every member of this dynasty are covered in large, ornate ornamentics. Toriana Gaprak curtsies to you. Her mechanical voice sounds distant and indifferent. Greetings, your ladyship. May the Omnissiah grant you understanding. With a click, her visor oculars swivel to the seneschal. Abelard, it must be difficult for you to be here under these circumstances, with your house standing accused of such grave a crime. My family, Lady Toriana, is yet to be found guilty of anything. That verdict is for the rogue trader to reach. Do you think the accusations against the Wassarian family are true? I would not take such a responsibility upon myself and rule on their guilt, your ladyship. I do think, however, that Governor Drivestem's accusations are worthy of consideration. In your opinion, which nobles might have a reason to be party to such a conspiracy? She thinks for several moments before replying. Pardon my bluntness, your ladyship, but I will answer truthfully. It could be anyone. Greed, fear, and ideals can drive even the most loyal subjects to do the unthinkable. I've examined the bodies of the assailants that were killed today. All of them were high-functioning servitors. Such servitors are only employed by families close to the Adeptus Mechanicus, isn't that so? It is impossible to read Toriana's emotions in her heavily augmented face, but a sudden turn toward her family betrays her confusion and surprise. Perplexed whispers bounce from one family member to another. Impossible! We came here by ourselves, without any servitors. Well, we know nothing about it. Your ladyship, thank you for informing us of this. You are absolutely right. My house has indeed been endowed with high-functioning servitors, a blessing for those who revere the Omnissiah. But today none of our house members were accompanied by them. I found this note on the bodies of one of the attackers. What are your thoughts on it? Toriana's mechanical fingers grip the paper. Officially, high-functioning servitors are employed by my house and my house alone. If such units were to attack the rogue trader, suspicion would instantly fall upon the Gapraks. I assume that this is what the Wassarians intended to happen, but they did not expect that the servitors would have this letter on them. Take my leave. Alright, let's go speak to the Sarlaccs. Before bowing, Macarius Saubak scrutinizes you with a bitter, judgmental look. Your ladyship. Hetka Saubak, looking like a younger copy of his father, stands at a slight distance, close to his mother. An expensive yet understated dress serves to highlight the dazzling beauty of Macarius' wife, Regina. Saubak stares at Owlcat and revulsion flickers across his face. Let's look closely at him. That's 100%. Despite Saubak's attempts to suppress his revulsion, the presence of inhumans in your retinue undoubtedly reflects his fervent desire to eliminate the enemies of humanity. We've got a coercion check. 85? Not bad. Succeed. Saubak's face turns red and his furious gaze trained upon you. His furious... Yeah. Free-flowing rage boils in every word he says. The rogue trader is the chosen servant of the Emperor and one of humanity's best. By surrounding yourself with depraved Xenos who scorn the very exceptionalism of humankind, you teeter on the brink of heresy. No privilege granted by the Emperor can blind others to that fact. The thought of existing in the same sector as Xenos is revolting, but their presence in your retinue, here, in the capital city of the von Valancius trade dynasty, enrages me. To have Xenos sullying the streets of this planet after what we endured, and under the protection of the rogue trader, no less. Saubak takes a deep breath and exhales noisily. His rage subsides, but his burning gaze remains fixed on you. With a pained and distressed expression, Regina glances at her husband, her hands worrying the ruffles on her dress. Do you really believe the Wassarians are guilty?
Certainly, he replies without hesitation. Governor Drivestem possesses proof of their guilt, and they have no means by which to refute it. Even if I were to entertain the idea that Wassarians are being framed, how much longer would their house have lasted anyway, if it is so ill-prepared for treachery? He addresses Abelard with a slightly mocking tone. My advice to House Wassarian would be to not appeal to the rogue trader for help, but instead to simply stop, accept their fate, and not make matters worse for themselves. I cannot remember Dahlia von Bernicus von Valancia seeking your advice on what House Wassarian should do in this situation. Pay attention, Macarius. Focus on the rogue trader's questions.
Who, apart from the Wassarians, had a motive to conspire against me?
House Drivestem, wishing to expand their clout. House Gaprak, who lost their influence after the Kiamba Gava incident.
Sauerbach looks back at his family and turns to you again.
House Sauerbach, whose patriarch is too direct in his communication with the rogue trader. Anyone could have a reason to conspire against you, and equally they could have none. It's not a question of motive, but of loyalty. Each of your subjects has sworn an oath of loyalty to you, so whose sincerity do you doubt?
Your unveiled hatred for me is so obvious, Sauerbach, it's grounds enough to charge you with heresy.
I'm hearing this from you, the Emperor's servant who flouts all that is sacred, the person who seems to think the laws of the Imperium are meaningless.
Macarius, now is a time when you do well to stop and not make matters worse for yourself. The assailants sent to the palace were rare, high-functioning servitors. Do you think the Gapraks could be behind the attack? Sauerbach looks away briefly and replies to you with a curt laugh.
Ha! No, I always thought Toriana too weak to participate in such risky ventures. It seems I was wrong about her.
Leave. Okay, he did not like Owlcat being in the party. Right, in this corner we've got the Wassarians, so let's go and talk to them. As you draw close to the wardens step aside, bowing respectfully, allowing you to approach the Wassarian family. Clementia, tired and slightly dishevelled, is the first to bow her head to you in deference. Several men and women behind her follow suit. Your ladyship, the woman stammers as if lost for words. Accept my most humble apologies for failing to greet you properly, and my thanks for agreeing to speak to me before making your final decision. The charges brought by the governor are severe, but I can only assure you of this and swear on my own honour we are not guilty of the crimes that House Wassarian is being accused of.
Clementia.
A hint of sorrow creeps into Abelard's voice, belying his stern facade.
You were acting head of this family. You were supposed to take care of each and every family member. And now you're being accused of treason and collusion against the rogue trader. The entire family is facing death. How could you allow this to happen?
Are you truly guilty? Be honest, I will not tolerate lies.
Clementia, if you know that a member of your family is guilty of the crimes you're being accused of.
Abelard, it is your family too, you know. The woman's words burn with defiance. My apologies. I should not lose my composure. No member of House Wassarian is involved in a conspiracy against her ladyship. Honour and loyalty are not something we take lightly, and we know whom we serve. The governor claims you forged documents. The fleet is the primary remit of House Wassarian. It is our responsibility. Logistics and supply routes are another area of our responsibility. We have no direct influence on the inner workings of the Adeptus Administratum. The first large-scale deliveries were cancelled after quantities of food were miscalculated by clerks in the Administratum. Then we were faced with incorrect weather data and a meagre fuel budget. It was clear that the cause of all these problems was the calculations performed in the Administratum in one way or another. But no matter how many times we asked, we could not ever obtain any clarification on the matter. I found this letter on one of the bodies of the heretics who planned the attack. What can you tell me? While Clementia reads the letter, the Wassarians behind her read it over her shoulder. Your ladyship, let us be frank. It would be foolish of me to try and orchestrate something like this, knowing how many wardens are patrolling your palace. I would not have let myself or anyone in my family get involved in such a scheme. The attackers were high-functioning servitors, ones that look closer to ordinary humans. Do you know anything about them? Servitors, is that so? Clementia crosses her arms and furrows her brow deep in thought. I have encountered servitors that were indistinguishable from normal augmented humans, but only once. They were accompanying several members of House Gaprak. If you are not guilty, who is? Who stands to gain from framing you? Anyone, really? Clementia replies with a bitter laugh. The other houses consider us unworthy of our position, and many would jump at the chance to get rid of us, and gain control over what was once our domain, the planet's fleet and logistics at the very least.
Lady Theodora chose to grant noble status to House Wassarian, but the other houses, which have served in the Expanse for millennia, did not welcome the decision. It has led to some difficulties.
I want to find out what's going on here and who the real mastermind behind it is. Where should I start? I'm afraid I cannot be of much help. Talk to the representatives of other houses, eavesdrop on their retinue, and perhaps you will hear something unusual. Okay, it's not a bad suggestion, that.
Powers unseen uncover my path.
Let's go and talk to Drivestem now. Governor Drivestem is surrounded by his retinue, who are all dressed in expensive gowns and finery. The matching colour scheme of their outfits and the striking physical resemblance among them suggests they all come from one family.
Your ladyship, thank you for giving this case your undivided attention.
The governor bows, and the rest hasten to follow suit. I wish to hear your reasoning again. What makes you think the Warsarians are behind the plot?
Well, as soon as the logistical and economic problems gave rise to the initial rumours, we tried to find the person responsible for spreading the calls for Voidveer's return. The Administratum showed that some of the documents inside the Adeptus Administratum were forgeries. We can thank my son, Cornelius, for such astute observations.
Your ladyship. A slender young man bows to you awkwardly and nervously licks his dry lips. I assure you that my humble person is undeserving of your attention.
Cornelius holds a prestigious position at the Administratum Palace, and it was he who discovered the errors leading to the disrupted logistics. It is also thanks to him that we found the perpetrators of the forgeries, who admitted to acting on the orders of House Warsarian.
What do you make of this letter? I found it on one of the assailants. Governor Drivestem peers closely at the blood-stained paper.
Well, it looks like another piece of evidence incriminating House Warsarian. Perhaps they did truly intend to kill you, or at least cause a stir to help them escape custody during the confusion that followed.
All of the assailants were high-functioning servitors, such as are only employed by families close to the Adeptus Mechanicus.
High-functioning servitors?
Drivestem ponders this, rubbing his chin with his thumb.
Well, such servitors are indeed rare, and the Gaprags do have them in their service. But this could have been done intentionally with an eye to confusing you. Anyone with a desire and sufficient funds can hire them.
Tell me more about your son, Drivestem.
Oh, thank you for your interest, your ladyship, but I am not...
Oh, no, sorry, this is Cornelius. Thank you for your interest, your ladyship, but I am not worthy of it. The governor's son bows and stands still as he nervously stares at the floor.
Son showed you respect. Forgive him, your ladyship, this is the first time he has had the honour of attracting the attention of the rogue trader.
Heinrich narrows his eyes and, glancing at you, shakes his head. Tell me more about your job, Cornelius. What do you do? I manage the documents and records related to the economy of Dargonus. You probably know how scrupulous the workers of the Adeptus Administratum are. I'm afraid that a more detailed explanation of my duties would mirror the administrative process of the Administratum. Too long and overly detailed. Cornelius tries to look you in the eye, but it's clearly hard for him to do so. How did you manage to find the forged documents? Oh, well, when compiling reports on the last cycle's supply chain, I noticed inaccuracies and discrepancies in the figures. With the help of the other clerks, I managed to find several other documents. He stammers and swallows noisily. Comprehensive data analysis has shown that the discrepancies were caused by intentional tampering with the data, thus leading to some logistical problems that were practically unsolvable. This is the governor, Father, and I. I think that's still Cornelius speaking, though. Father and I have managed to single out the Administratum clerks responsible for tampering with the data. Following a heated interrogation, they confessed that they were following the orders of someone from House Warsarian. Everything was supposed to look as though they were the ones suffering losses from the logistical and economic problems. But does House Warsarian even have access to the Adeptus Administratum? There's no conceivable way they could do all of this in a place where they do not hold any power. Before replying, the governor's son nervously adjusts his expensive frock coat. I think the right amount of money can open any door. Cornelius, what is the true reason for your nervousness? The young man's pupils suddenly dilate. He stands at attention and replies to you in one breath. Oh, this is the first time I've spoken face to face with the rogue trader. I'm afraid of saying something wrong or forgetting something important. The governor closely watches his son. His tone changes, now sounding strict and curt.
Do you wish to tell the Lord Captain anything else?
We could do a coercion check. 100% thanks to Cassia. Put your hand on your weapon. You are speaking to a rogue trader and my patience is running out. You see a flash of terror in Cornelius's eyes as he stares at your hand on your weapon. He speaks quietly and confusedly without raising his head. Oh, forgive me, your ladyship. I can't do it any more. The lie has gone too far and I can no longer control it. The truth is that all of the logistical problems were caused by a single error in the numbers. My mistake.
What?
Urban looks genuinely shocked and enraged. When I discovered my mistake, it was almost impossible to restore the supply lines. Then I was approached by someone who said they were a friend. They did not give me their name, and I never saw their face. They promised to fix the problem. All I had to do was pretend that the Warsarians were responsible for the mistake. And as for the rest of the evidence, they promised to arrange it all, and... Cornelius is suffering with fear, unable to speak. Urbend curls his hands into fists, the knuckles turning white.
What have you done? How could you? Oh, your ladyship.
He suddenly turns to you as if trying to shield his son.
Oh, this is my fault. I trusted my son and have failed you in doing so. I beg you, have mercy.
Abelard shakes his head.
And you called my family's honor into question, Urbend. Nevertheless, I harbour no desire to kick a man when he's down. Lord Captain, the confession you have obtained means that House Wassarian can now be cleared of all charges.
Who was this friend that approached you, Cornelius? How did the two of you communicate?
Oh, by letter. I received a letter out of the blue one day. It was unsigned, but the person writing already knew about my erroneous calculations. They offered to help me cover up my misdeed, and in return I would name the Wassarians as the one who had sabotaged the supply lines. All I had to do was gather together some documents and reports that were listed in one of the letters. That and keep my mouth shut.
Urbend, your son has found the courage to admit his mistake. I will try and find some compassion for him in my heart.
Thank you, your ladyship.
The governor bows low and then gives his son a look full of bitterness and frustration.
And as for your position, I think you will be reassigned to a role requiring less responsibility.
Right, we're going to return later at this point. So, this is the point at which I went off to make a judgment in my first try. And there's a... Well, as I said, when I was looking on Reddit for answers about the bug that I encountered, it transpires that there's many more steps. Well, not many more. There's more steps in this mystery. So I'll try and uncover who's behind it. Now I don't know the exact details, but I do know that it's worth exploring our palace in a bit more detail and trying to see if there's anything hidden here that might shed some light. Is this just the view? It's probably just the view, isn't it? Alright, yeah, that's just the view.
Oh, it was nice.
Don't get me wrong. Not quite what we're after, though. We could try going into the bedroom and maybe even the secret room as well. There might be stuff here that casts some new light onto things we've found. Probably not. Alright. So I've got all these things following me around. I don't think that bug's been fixed. I don't even have any in my inventory at the moment. In fact, I sold them all when I was trying to get to the advanced bolter. Alright, but we're gonna do a loop round here as well. I think the clue that we're meant to follow is eavesdropping on members of the parties. Okay, so we can't go there, but there is this guy. There's Gallon Gaprak here. Camera angle's quite hard sometimes. Let's have a quick chat with him. A finely dressed man of middle years is kneeling in front of the altar, his palms folded in prayer close to his face. The implant-free parts of his skin are a sickly blue colour. The nobleman does not react to your presence. He does not lift his face. He does not blink. He does not even breathe. Only when you draw closer do you realise that he is dead. Oh, what's going on? It'd be nice to... Oh, God. Don't know what's going on. Abelard looks at the man, his eyes grim. The colours of House Gaprak. I do not believe he decided to take his own life in such an extravagant way. There we go. That's a bit better. As far as I know, there is a warden post here, but I do not see any wardens. Seneschal looks around. There's no one to ask about what happened here, or with whom this man spoke before he died. I would like to ask Urbend where the palace guard suddenly disappeared to. Heinrichs leans towards the dead man. A familiar sight. There are poisons that rapidly damage the nervous system, causing paralytic spasms throughout the body once injected. The victims usually suffocate slowly and painfully, unable to call for help. We have an awareness check. 92%, thanks to earlier. Very nice. Examine the body. There are no visible wounds on the body, but near the edge of the gold-trimmed collar you notice a tiny puncture in the blue skin, likely a wound caused by a thin needle. Alright, let's search his pockets. You discover a secret pocket in the lining of the dead man's jacket. You find a folded piece of paper inside, hiding behind a handkerchief embroidered with the initials HG. Well, Gatprak, but it's Toriana, isn't it? Toriana and Vicente Gatprak are kind of the main two. All right. Let's have a look at. We'll have a look at that in a sec. Oh, actually, it's here. Make sure the rogue trader is attacked by someone loyal. It should appear as if it was all staged to let the Wassarian family escape. This is the last assignment. Soon your debt will be paid off in full. Okay. Well, this, I think, is the guy behind the servitors. However, it sounds like he was coerced into it. So he's not the mastermind. Look around. You're almost certain that the wardens are usually stationed nearby, but the post is empty. Where have they gone? This would be an excellent question to put to Governor Drivestem. Step away from the corpse. Okay, I think this was the key discovery I didn't find before. Well, to be truthful, I didn't look for it before, but we're going to go and talk to Governor Drivestem again now. And I'm at the point of this quest where I don't know kind of what's going to happen, so it's quite exciting. Where's Urbend? Here he is. How may I serve you, your ladyship? Are you ready to pronounce your verdict yet? Oh, why can't I put the question to him? What does it say in the... Pronounce the verdict. Find the culprit. An unknown party for crimes against the supply driver. I think we go and talk to everyone again. Let's confront Gatprak with the body and the note that we found. And that might shed some light. It's all the same as before. Here we go. I discovered a dead body, a member of your house, right here in my palace. He died kneeling in prayer. Ah, Halen Gatprak. Okay. Toriana covers her mouth with her hand in surprise and turning to her family looks for someone among them. Or, the note maybe was planted on him.
Halen, it can't be.
Halen, was it? Tell me about him.
Halen is one of the lower-ranking members of House Gatprak. Despite his advanced age, he never held high office, but he was forever striving to better his position, even beyond his abilities. Many members of my house struggled to cope with the misfortune that befell Kiava Gamma and our family. Some members could not reconcile themselves to our new position. Halen was one of them.
What could have happened to him? Toriana's visual oculars are fixed on the floor, her fingers restlessly clenching in the fabric of her dress. Toriana, the time to keep silent is long gone. The future of the von Valancius trade dynasty and your house are both at stake now.
We lost Kiava Gamma, a truly devastating blow to every member of House Gatprak. I lost all hope for the future, and my kin lost their sense of purpose. We needed time to recover and chart a new course for ourselves. We were, and still are, more than capable of doing that. But I will not deny it, the other houses have offered us their assistance, for their own self-serving ends. Perhaps Halen decided to take them up on one of their offers behind my back.
The seneschal bows ever so slightly and speaks quietly so that only you can hear him. Lord Captain, the Gapraks, all, or perhaps only some of them, are definitely involved, but I suspect that they were not behind the plot against you. Halen Gaprak could be nothing more than a puppet in the hands of a deft puppet master. We must expose whoever that is if we're to prevent the pestilence of heresy from spreading any further. What do you suggest? You already have grounds to suspect House Sauerbach of the conspiracy and orchestrating the attempt on your life. Governor Drivestem's decision to unjustly accuse House Wassarian also cast doubt on his competence. Tell him you're ready to pronounce your verdict, but before you do so, I suggest focusing on each house in your indictment speech, and I shall observe them. I have known these people far longer than you have. I know all their gestures, habits, and behavioral quirks. I am sure I'll be able to determine which of them was responsible for the riots based on their behavior. Okay. Interesting. That's the next step then, probably. But let's speak to the Sauerbachs again first. Here we go. Let's ask them this. Same question. Macarius looks at the note without taking it from your hands and replies without hesitation. No, I know nothing about this note. Leave. Okay. Suspicious. Okay, well, let's do a final chat with Clementia and see if she can suggest anything. Yeah, same question. Halen Gatprak dead note. The younger members of the Wassarian family crowd around to examine the note in Clementia's hands. All present are beset with worry and bewilderment. I'm not sure if it is relevant, but perhaps you should know. Since the fall of Kiava Gamma, House Gaprak has been faring poorly, to say the least. They have been looking for ways to enhance their influence and to improve their lot, including asking for help from the other noble houses. They have not approached us, of course. It is shameful to seek help from those you consider your inferiors, you understand. But perhaps the drive stems or the sowerbacks can tell you more about this matter.
Embrace true power.
Okay, let's have a quick look at that note, those 2 notes again. To keep away from the lords and ladies, you must look like a noble to the servants and wardens. Do not engage in conversations with anyone. Your task is to avoid exposing yourself ahead of time and let the Wassarians get away while the wardens are busy guarding the rogue trader. Then the note on the other guy. Make sure that the rogue trader is attacked by someone loyal. Could be the Gapraks. It should appear as if all was staged to let the Wassarian family escape. This is the last assignment. Soon your debt will be paid off in full. Where did I get the HG thing from? Maybe it was addressed to HG rather than from him. Okay, so I think they were his instructions. We'll ask him about the body.
A member of House Gaprak was killed in the palace?
The governor's eyes bulge in surprise.
And no one noticed? But how? There are wardens posted at every altar.
There was no one near the deceased. The wardens had left their post. Did you order them to do so?
Emperor forbid, your ladyship.
The governor helplessly throws his hands up in the air as if to signify his powerlessness.
Your negligence is stunning, Urband. An assassination attempt followed by a mysterious death, and yet here you are, oblivious to everything. The rogue trader can justly accuse you of allowing a noble to be killed in the palace, and of failing even to notice it. It may be so, but it is for the rogue trader to accuse me of negligence, not you. The governor addresses you once more. Your ladyship, accept my deepest apologies for my imprudence. Nothing matters more to me than my honour. I shall send the servants to deal with all of this immediately.
Did you see Macarius Sowerback today before I arrived?
Macarius? Well, I did not see him myself, but perhaps,
The governor turns around and asks his family,
Have any of you seen him today?
The nobles talk quietly among themselves, and then a middle-aged woman with a tall, extravagant hairstyle replies to you, I think my sister and I saw him sitting on a bench some distance away from the palace's entrance. We think he was accompanied by a gentleman, but forgive us, your ladyship, we could not make out his face. All right, lead me there. Of course, consider it done. I assume this is the one we're following.
The world will bow. How fascinating.
Aha! That's where he was talking. Awareness 100%.
Oh, too hard for a simple monkey.
I recognize this bouquet. House Sowerback usually serves this wine. Bottle of wine, House Sowerback. Okay, so I think maybe it's just another thing to point to the Sowerbacks, which it does sound like it's them, doesn't it? I mean, yeah. I think it is the Sowerbacks, so let's talk to Urbend again. Right, let's pronounce the verdict, and Abelard can. He says to kind of indict each of the houses in turn, and he's going to study reactions. Many faces are watching you, each and every one awaiting the rogue trader's verdict with bated breath. The charges brought by Governor Drivestem were fabricated. House Wassarian had nothing to do with the orchestration of the riots or the plot targeting the rogue trader. However, the real perpetrators are here in this very room. The Seneschal nods to you as if urging you to continue, then shifts his piercing gaze to the crowd before you. Okay, so we've got some awareness checks here. Urbend. Okay, well maybe we work down these then. Urbend Drivestem, you have exhibited an inexcusable negligence for failing to question the possible involvement of any other family besides the Wassarians. We have discovered that the attempt on my life was orchestrated by a member of House Gaprak. The governor closes his eyes, fear and shame getting the better of him. Some faces in the crowd look confused and surprised, but you see more wearing expressions of self-satisfied contempt. Abelard looks from the governor to you and subtly shakes his head as if to say no, it is not Drivestem pulling the strings here. Toriana Gaprak, a member of your family, orchestrated an assassination attempt against me, here in my own palace. Though he's already been found dead, his act is reason enough to forever brand your house as traitors. Mocking whispers creep through the crowd. Toriana is trembling faintly. She still does not raise her head, perhaps out of fear of meeting her fate face to face. Seneschal's hard gaze softens. An elusive gesture, visible only to you, conveys the message, Toriana Gaprak is guilty only of her own poor judgment. I know that House Sourback offered their help to the Gapraks, and the late Halen Gaprak seemed to have accepted the offer. I suspect you're responsible for his death as well. Sourback furrows his brows and slightly cocks his head. He averts his gaze for the first time, as if trying to remember or make sense of something. You notice some restless movements behind him. Abelard narrows his eyes and scrutinizes Macarius Sourback and his retinue standing behind him. His sharp eyes light up when he catches sight of something important and hidden in the crowd. The Seneschal looks at you and nods as if to say, the puppeteer has given himself away. Pronounce the verdict. In the conspiracy against the rogue trader, I find... The air in the room is frozen with a tense, almost electrified silence. All the nobles, some with fear and others with reverent anticipation, await your verdict. All right. House Gaprak guilty. One of your members orchestrated an attack on the rogue trader. Treason, by anyone's reckoning. A shiver ripples through Toriana's body and she looks on the verge of fainting but manages to stay on her feet. What? Gaprak? Oh, this is like the bug I had before. The opposite one seems to get executed. Sourback. Wasn't it? Didn't I not say Sourback? Oh no! Oh, I did choose the wrong one. I thought they were all going to be... Oh no, I've mucked that up again. Alright, tell you what, that's my mistake. I'm sorry, I didn't read it properly. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pause, I'm going to go through all of that again, off camera, and we'll come back when I'm ready to pronounce my verdict. Hang on. Okay, in fact, I didn't have to go back very far at all because I'd quick saved just before I spoke to Urban, so... here we go. Yeah, it's going to be this, because I thought they were all House Sourback. I thought we were just saying why we thought it was them. That's why I picked that one, thinking it, yeah. House Sourback guilty. Seneschal, you may take it from here. Abelard steps forward and stares intently at House Sourback's patriarch. Macarius, I must admit I've always admired your bluntness, but just as I once had to say goodbye to a promotion because of my dislike for intrigue, you, and your family, might soon say goodbye to your heads. Tell me now, in your blunt fashion, are you loyal to House von Valancius? Sourback narrows his eyes, grimacing. I am loyal, Wassarian. Abelard studies Sourback and then suddenly nods. You're not lying, but someone else is. Someone who is poised to destroy both you and your family for her own gain. Macarius does not have time to respond. Regina, who is standing beside him, raises her arm as if to slap the elderly seneschal. Abelard deftly catches her wrist, stopping her hand right in front of his face. Her dainty hand is adorned with a massive augmetic ring with a thin spike dripping with venom. Ah, she used that to kill the Gaprak guy. Sourback shifts his confused gaze from his wife to Abelard and then back again. The stiff arrogance has vanished from his posture. Regina? You? Mother! Upon realizing what has happened, Hetka recoils from his mother. Macarius, your bluntness makes you an open book. When I talked about helping the Gapraks, you had no idea what I was referring to. Your wife, on the other hand, her eyes started shifting like you would not believe. Regina Sourback, you alone betrayed the rogue trader, jeopardizing the prosperity of the von Valancius trade dynasty, and you alone are responsible for your unmasking. Regina, why would you do this? Like the spike on her ring, Regina's words are dripping with poison and rage. Because Dargonus is serving the impostor. The true heir of the Protectorate bears a different name. When Kunrad appeared on Dargonus, he paid me a visit and opened my eyes to the truth of the situation. Theodora was killed by the one whom she had so unwarily taken under her wing. Macarius is too narrow-minded to even consider opposing the rogue trader, even an illegitimate one.
So I had to wait for the right moment, and the disappearance of the Lord Captain could not have come at a better time. It was quite simple to trigger a chain of events on Dargonus so that the people remembered Voigtvir's past service. It seems that many of your subjects do not actually consider you a worthy successor.
Why the Wissarians?
Because when stripped of the Seneschal's protection, this house is the weakest one on all of Dargonus, and they are also particularly disliked by the governor's family. It would have been easy to bury the Wissarians under accusations of heresy.
Who aided you? There's no way you did all this on your own.
Oh, of course I didn't. I have too many helpers to list them all, but rest assured there are plenty of them, just as there are plenty of people who follow Master Voigtvir. My death will not change anything. The true rogue trader will come and take his rightful place when the time is right.
Why did you kill Halen Gaprak?
Halen was a good agent, but he was also a coward. He came to me just before our formidable rogue trader arrived. He was ready to confess everything. I suggested that he plead for the Emperor's forgiveness first, and he did grant him mercy, did he not?
Abelard, the sentence has yet to be carried out. Finish this. Abelard turns his gaze to you. Does the rogue trader condemn only the rotten apple or the entire barrel? I will not exterminate an entire noble line that is loyal to me just because of one traitor. In that case, Regina Sauerback shall be subjected to intense interrogation, followed by execution. Now we get a traitor's ring. A ring weapon that fires a single liquefier shot, can only be used once per combat, contaminates a 3-cell radius area, which inflicts 10 toxic damage and applies melting every turn. Okay. That's fine. I don't think I'll find room for it in the accessories that I've got equipped on all my main characters at the moment. There might be a couple of gaps, because I was selling a lot of stuff prior to the previous episode. So we'll see if there's room for it. By order of the rogue trader, Regina Sauerback is sentenced to death for heresy and crimes against the von Valancia's trade dynasty. Something going on in there. Ooh, what's this? Oh dear. Very public interrogation, it appears. When the nobles disperse, sated by the bloody performance, Abelard approaches you, his steps firm. Lord Captain, you have my thanks. A rogue trader should not waste time on the matters that her servants and trustees can resolve. But in this case, your intervention was necessary. Not just for the sake of my family, but for your trade dynasty as well. Regina Sauerback, evidently Conrad's accomplices, continue to plot against your protectorate. I fear we have not heard the last of such scoundrels. So previously, in my previous attempt, I accused the Gapraks because I didn't find the body, the poison and all of that. I just had the note we found to go on. So I said it was probably the Gapraks because of the servitors and stuff. When I got to this part, it still said, you've executed Regina Sauerback, and that was the bug that I went to look up. But here we've reached the right decision. Okay. Thanks to you, Lord Captain, House Wissarian is saved, although it came close to being wiped out as a result of scheming without and imprudence within. Abelard pauses for a moment, staring off into the distance. Sometimes I think about how much I could teach them. I could ensure they survive in the future without me. Well, you and your family must be prepared for the next time something like this happens. Abelard nods, deep in thought. Yes, that is true. They need to be prepared for it, and I want to believe that they'll be able to take care of themselves. I need time to reflect upon what happened and the role I played in it. I think I will be ready to resume this conversation later, when we are back on board the ship. Abelard bows to you deferentially and turns away, lost in thought. Loading. What's going on? Oh, there we are. I thought it was stuck in a black screen there. What does this say? Yeah. So we finish off by talking to him on board the ship. I'll tell you what, that was a way more satisfying conclusion than my first one. So I'm glad I went back and did it properly, and I'm glad you guys are seeing it for the first time as well. I think I made the right decision not playing out the wrong investigation. But let me know in the comments what you think. It'd be good to know your thoughts. You know, on the full quest as well, and this episode, and anything really. Just good to hear your thoughts. And if you're watching this and haven't already subscribed to the channel, if you could do that, that would be amazing. So what I'll do, I'm going to go back to the ship, but I'll do that ahead of filming the next episode, I think, so you guys don't have to watch me run across multiple maps and loading screens. And I'll just say thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.